I'm Susan Jarboe, and with me today are my friends Linda Baker, Kathy Cronin, and of course, Reverend Linda. We have an interesting subject today about pity, and that's what we're going to be talking about. However, before we get into that, let's have a prayer. And I hope you're all relaxed, comfortable, and take a breath or two if you like. And our Heavenly Parent, I want to thank you for the minds and thoughts of today's panelists that are creating this tape. And thank you for the hearts and souls of those who are watching this tape. Only you know what we are setting out to accomplish today. We as panelists may have an idea, a vision, hints. We have talents, abilities, and time. However, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning for every project, every season, and every discussion. Thank you for always being with us. Amen. Some of you know that one of my spiritual outlets, if you will, is contemplation. I engage in a practice called centering prayer, and it is a meditative practice. Because of that, I subscribe to a daily word, if you will, from the Center for Action and Contemplation. Some of you have heard of Richard Rohr, and he sends things out. And this recent one really spoke to me. I thought some interesting things were being said. And the title of this is Compassion, Not Pity. And what Richard Rohr did was put two different essays together. The first essay is by Howard Thurman. And as you know, he was an American author, philosopher, theologian, Christian mystic, educator, and civil rights leader. He was a prominent figure in the 20th century, known for his work in many social justice organizations. And he reflected that contemplation helped him distinguish between pity and compassion. He wrote, God is making room in my heart for compassion. There is already a vast abundance of room for pity, including self-pity, that sticky substance that ruins everything it touches. There is pity in me, pity for others. But there is something in it that cannot be trusted. It is mixed with pride, arrogance, cunning. I see this only when I expose myself to the eyes of God in the quiet time. It is now that I see what my pity really is and the sources from which it springs. God is making room in my heart for compassion, the awareness that where my life begins is where your life begins. The awareness that your needs cannot be separated from my needs. The awareness that the joys of my heart are never mine alone, nor are my sorrows. I struggle against the work of God in my heart. I want to be let alone. I want my boundaries to remain fixed, that I may be at rest. But even now, as I turn to God in the quietness, God's work in me is ever the same. God is at work enlarging the boundaries of my heart. The second essayist is Nadia Bolz-Weber. And I had not heard of her, but she was very interesting to read about online. She's an American author, Lutheran minister, and public theologian. And she has written any number of different books. This essay She writes on the basis of visiting a prison. And here she rejects the temptation to view others with pity instead of compassion. I look those two young men in the eyes and I think, I will not pity you, but I will in this moment see even just a fraction of your pain and acknowledge how it is like mine and very much not like mine. In my mind, pity isn't even analogous to compassion. Pity is just the paternalistic cousin of contempt. It allows us to see others as those less fortunate than ourselves. Pity keeps the other person at a distance and me in a rarefied state of satisfaction. Compassion, on the other hand, draws us close. So, no, I do not pity the men I meet. Like me and like you, they are complex human beings. They have experienced love I do not know about and have really great stories I will never hear. So to feel sorry for them based solely on what little I now know of their stories is an oversimplification. This world will break your heart. There's enough sorrow to go around and for everyone to have seconds. But this world has 1,000 forms of medicine too. I have yet to find healing in self-pity, isolation, pretending I'm not hurting, comparison, hardening myself, standing in judgment, although that sure feels good. But I have found healing in eye contact with another person who is in a tender place. The rare moments I stop filling in the blank about another person. Compassion toward myself and others. Remaining open-hearted in moments I want to shut down. Using my pain to see it in others rather than only in myself. These writers are claiming that pity divides us and compassion unites us. And I open this up to the panel who may have responses to this. What did you all think? Linda?
Well, I say we've got to catch it in this moment of time. I think we're all on a journey. I heard a wise reverend talk about that just real recently, about the journey that we're all on. And I guess there are times we see the pity and it should be compassion. And it's just so that we, just like you so well explained, the difference between the two, and it is a learning cycle, and to see it in this moment in time is how we grow. That's my initial thought. Let me come back to you.
Okay, sure.
I will definitely comment on this. You know, I had never heard pity as contempt, and I'm really thinking about that a lot. Uh, that's kind of wow, a whole new inspiration, a whole new way to look at things. I have picked up pity as contempt without putting it in those words or even realizing, especially people talking about the homeless or me talking about my experiences living on the streets. I've picked up the feeling of pity. I think my default, I hope my default is compassion. I've certainly learned that we go through a whole lot of circumstances in our lives, and that there are lessons and gifts all along the way, even in some that look really, really bad. I will mention that I know Nadia's work. I actually subscribe to her. She's sassy and blunt and a lot of fun, and hard to believe that she's what, a Presbyterian minister. I
Lutheran.
yeah, Lutheran. I'd put her in a whole different category, but she's a lot of fun. Thank you for this topic, compassion and not pity. And I would say it's so important that we try and teach our children and our grandchildren compassion rather than pity. And I'm not sure just how to do that, but I know it's a gift we can leave in generations to come. Thank you for letting me share.
Well, her example of the prisoners was one that I related to. Before COVID, um, there was a team from my church who went to the Las Colinas detention facility. That's in Santee here. It's a women's detention facility. And we would do Sunday services for the women. And one of the things I found was that I felt compassion, because although I could not relate to whatever it was that brought them there, when they said how they hate being shut in and not being able to go outside, that just got me right here. Not being able to go outside when you want. And so I have found it in my life easier to feel compassion for people with whom I have similar perceptions. It's more of a challenge for me to feel compassion for people with whom it appears I have nothing in common. Kathy, do you have some observations to make?
I do. As you were reading through this, the thought going through my head was pity poor me. And I kept thinking of that, is that having compassion and not pity. And I found that sometimes it's hard when someone is so caught up in their victim stage, that self-pity, that all they can see is the pity poor me. It's very hard to step beyond that and be compassionate, because they really want to hang on to being a victim and holding on to that things. It's not seeing, that this is a circumstances that's there, and you can be compassionate with that circumstances. That's like their torch. They're hanging on to that. And so the pity is within that own person to not want to come beyond their circumstances, to stay stuck there. However, as an outsider, to look at that is being able to see that there is being compassionate, to say there is a brighter tomorrow. The sun will come up tomorrow, that you can move beyond this stage. You can take this state of being and not be such a victim in it and move forward. So even when you mention self-pity, it's sometimes when I'm in my own self-pity, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning. It's like feeling like everything is going wrong. So that's where I see my role as being compassionate, is helping that person move beyond that state of being pitiful. Not that I'm saying, oh, what a pity that this is going on. It's recognizing that they're stuck in that state and being compassionate to move them through. I like your sharing with the imprisoned women, how, not being able to go out and be able to have that type of situation is, yes, it's, you can see that that's heartbreaking for them. And it's sort of like, I have to say there is that difference, and not to, if someone's going through a tough time, is being compassionate with them and being understanding and where it's at. I also, if someone's stuck and being a victim, isn't enlightening them, is sharing them to have hope, to be able to trust, to dare to trust in God, to dare to trust in a greater outcome, and move out of that. Even for myself, when I'm in a self-pity, is to trust that it will be, tomorrow will be better, that things will get better. So it's a great way is looking at how we handle people, and not pitying them that they're living out on the streets, as being compassionate, or understanding that that's sometimes is their choice. Sometimes that for them is a choice that they're making, and I don't pity them that things. I can bless them and know that that's what they want for themselves, that living out on the streets to them is so much safer than having to deal with the norms of life that was so threatening to them. So I it's being compassionate all the way down. Is like recognizing that people make their choices in their life, and I can be understanding that those are their choices. May not be my choice, but it is their choice, and have that compassion for them. So thank you for bringing that. It's a great way to see the differentiation between being compassionate and being, having pity. So
Well, thank you for those observations. Yeah, I found it insightful. I had, like Reverend Linda, I had not thought of pity as being associated with contempt. But once I read this, it made sense. I had a colleague once who, when he found himself worrying, as we all do now and then, he had one specific place in his house where he went to sit and worry. And he only allowed himself to worry in that chair. If he got up to do something else, no worry. And I have thought of the same kind of thing, is something similar with self-pity. You know, allow yourself 5 minutes to wallow in it and then be done. And I don't know if that would work for people. It does kind of work for me. To really get into it and then say, I'm done. Well, thank you so much, panelists, for your observations. And this was an inspiring discussion. And thank you to our audience for listening to this. If you think other people might appreciate what we talked about today, feel free to send the link on to other people. And you can also subscribe if you like all of these panel discussions that we're doing. You can subscribe to them so you automatically know when one is coming up. We don't consider ourselves experts on anything, so we welcome your comments and your questions about what you have heard today. And we would also like to hear topics or issues you'd like us to discuss in the future. Is there something on your mind that we might be able to talk about? We'd also like you to consider seriously becoming a presenter. That doesn't mean you have to be on the panel full time, but perhaps you would like to join us at one of our meetings to talk about something specific that you have thought about, or maybe it's an article you've read, something you think other people should hear about. We would love to have you as a guest presenter on our panel. And then we would also, of course, embrace those of you who might want to be a permanent panelist. Thank you again, panelists, for your contributions to today's discussion, and best wishes and blessings to our audience.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.